Good afternoon from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 1:27 p.m. on Tuesday, the 6th of January 2026. It was a lovely morning, but then we had quite a heavy rain shower, which I left the birdies out for because it was so hot. I thought it actually would be refreshing for them. And then the sun came out and it was all looking quite lovely and positive, and I was going to read to you outside, but then there's really dark clouds came over again, and I'm not sure if it's going to rain or not now. The sun's out, but it's just all sort of hovering with some kind of threat. So because of that, I brought the birdie boys back inside, and they're not real happy. They'd rather be out in the garden, but I just worried that it might rain with thunder and lightning and storm behind it. The last one was just a delicious, heavy, pendulous raindrops. It was just lovely, and I looked out because I was cleaning the bird cages in here, and I looked out worrying about them, thinking, do I have to rush out in the rain and bring them in? And I saw Kermie and Bo with their wings stretched right out, exposing their wing armpits. I mean, they're not really armpits, but you know, where their wings join their body like we have armpits. And they were just in the rain doing this, and I thought, oh, I'll leave them. They're fine. They're happy. So they got a bit wet, but now they're inside with me and preening happily, and I really would prefer them to be out in the garden, but the weather's a bit, as I said, a bit tickety-boo rather. And as I'm speaking, I was just saying, oh, the sun's out, and then it clouds over, then the sun comes out, and then it clouds over. It's going to be one of those days where it can't make up its mind. So I'll keep them in until, I'm certain that the threat of rainstorms and all that has blown out, and I might keep them in for the rest of today. But did they enjoy themselves? I've always worried about having them out in the rain, but because there was no wind or thunder or lightning, I thought they'll be fine. The worst thing that will happen is they'll get wet, and because it's hot here they'll dry, and sure enough it's worked out that way. So what was the other lovely thing? Oh yes, I wrote about it on Facebook. So the other lovely thing was I was out in the garden with the boys, getting them sorted, getting them ready, brought them outside. And yes, I'd gone and I'd washed this fleece that I'd spun. It has to be washed after spinning up. So I was washing that in a bucket in the laundry and wool wash, and then I was hanging it out to dry, and I was feeling very accomplished because that's another big ball of wool I've spun up. And I haven't done any spinning for the last 4 or 5 nights because I just didn't feel like doing it at the moment, but I've got my wheel still in the living room with me. Well, I better wash that and then roll it into a ball and get it ready, So I was in and out of the laundry with that, and I heard tweet tweet, but it's a particular kind of a bird call, and I knew immediately. I thought, oh, that's my king parrot, my boy, my handsome one, my darling who visits the garden. And his mate was here, the female was here late yesterday afternoon, just before it was due to get dark actually, but I couldn't see him, the male. And but she was in the guava tree, and I said hello. They don't talk in words to say hello, but they do this little, it's like they let me know that they're saying hello too. And she'd flown up over the roof and was all a bit twitterpated, but she didn't stay very long. And I don't know where he was. They're usually together. So anyway, I heard the tweet, and I looked out, and it was the male king parrot that was missing yesterday afternoon. So I was glad to see him. I thought, well, he's safe then, So I said, hello, my boy, and hello, I always call him hello, my boy, or hello, my darling. And he does this little swagger. We've been friends now for quite some years, that bird and I. It's a very unusual friendship. So anyway, like all my men, it's from a distance, we are watching you, etc., etc. Anyway, it was cute though. So what he did was, in the past, some years ago, he's flown over and just tapped the top of my head with his feet as an acknowledgement. I think he was thinking about doing that, but anyway, he flew across from that part of the garden, over my head, above my head, about 3 feet above my head, flew straight over and onto that bough of the umbrella tree, and then turned around and just looked at me like this, as if to say, I'm here. So I promptly went, oh my boy, it's so good to see you. I love you so much. I've missed you so much. And this is how I talk to him. And he's doing this little birdie swagger, because, you know, he's the king parrot. And he's so beautiful. He's red and green. So he's doing his little swagger and talking to me. And then he looked down because he could see the scrub turkey was eating, you know, I put the food for the scrub turkeys down on the ground because they jump up on the potting cabinet to steal the lorikeet mix. But I thought I'll just put it on the ground, save them jumping up, and then they'll have this delineation that they know which food is theirs and which food's the lorikeets. That's my logic. Doesn't always work out that way, people of Earth. But anyway, so it was cute. So I had the scrub turkey was here eating out of his bowl off the ground because it sits on the ground. And King Parrot was looking down, looking at what he's doing, and he's like, could see him thinking, he's got food. She's never given us food. Well, I've only started feeding them actual bird seeds, you know, in the last week or so. So I could see him clocking it. She's got food. And I went, yes, I'm feeding you boys seeds now. If you want some, you can come. And so he's watching this turkey, and the turkey's ignoring him studiously, you know. He wouldn't have flown down to compete with the turkey because he would have been scared of the turkey. So I said, all right, I'll get some food for you too. So I got the little metal bowl that I normally put the lorikeet mix in for the lorikeets. And I filled that up with bird seed. And then he saw that I'd come out with food, and he looked like this, with great interest. And he flew from the umbrella tree. It's a big bough that goes across almost to my roof. And he flew over to the other side of my roof above my laundry, where he often sits and just looks at me too. It's one of his favourite spots. And he's looking at me, and I went, yeah, this is for you. You can eat this too. I'll put it up here, then you can have it separate from the turkey. You don't have to scavenge on the ground with the turkey bullying you. And he's looking like, what you doing? So I picked up the seeds and I just ran them through my fingers and showed him, like, there's seeds in here, look, there's seeds. And he was like, so he flew from the roof above my laundry over to the roof above where I keep the food and looked down at it like that and looked at me, and I went, yep, that's for you if you want some. But he didn't actually partake of it. That's okay. Once he gets the idea that it's there, he'll probably come and eat occasionally. They don't eat here all the time because, you know, they're well fed, they're wild birds, and they eat wherever, in other people's gardens or in the forest, or there's plenty of food for them. I don't actually give them food because they need it. I give it to them just as a bit of a treat, you know. But actually the funny thing was, BB, the scrub turkey, I call him Bastard Buzzard because he really is the bane of my life, always stealing the lorikeet food, which is why I thought perhaps I'll just buy a big sack of wild bird seed and give him something, then he doesn't have to steal and get on my nerves, you know. He'll get on my nerves anyway, because that's what he does, because he's been doing it for 22 fucking years. Or, you know, it's probably not even the same turkey that's been annoying me for 22 years. I don't know how long they live, but he's one of the offspring of the original annoying one. And the males all get called bastard buzzard because they're very, just very annoying. Very annoying, scrub turkeys are. Anyway, it's just so cute. So anyway, before I had the seed out, put the seed out for him, before the king parrot arrived, this was first thing this morning when I went out to open up the cage and start getting it ready to put my birds in it. BB was here and he just looked at me and went over to the bowl and looked at it and looked at me. And I'm like, what? There's still some seeds in there. It looked like there was still some seeds in it. And he was like, walked around me in a circle and looked up at me. He asked. He most definitely asked. Not in words, but in body language and energy. So I went, what's wrong with you? There's still food there, because I could see it all scattered on the ground. So I went over. The little bastard buzzard, he's a very big bird actually, he's not little at all, had devoured all the yummy wild seeds, the corn and the sunflower seeds and these other kinds of seeds, and left the bits of wheat that he didn't like. Left the wheat seeds, went, don't like that, I want more, it's not good enough, Mama T. And because it was nearly empty, the bowl, there was only a few of these wheat seeds left. I went, you little bugger, you're getting bloody spoilt now. Now you're deciding to pick out the best and leave the rest for whatever, you know. So I said, oh, you want more, do you? You want a fresh bowl of seeds, do you? And he's like, what do you think I'm doing trying to talk to you? Who do you think I am? Some kind of bastard buzzard? Of course I want more, you human moron. So anyway, I had to laugh just at his posturing and the way he's letting me know. So I went and filled up the bowl of seed for him and gave him a bowl of fresh water to drink along with it. Anyway, when the king parrot arrived, he was well intrigued because he's watching BB head down, ass up in his bowl of seeds. Happy, so happy. I was like, oh, that's really lovely. Made me happy too, you know. And then just before I came inside to read to you, the lorikeets were here, but I haven't put their food out for them because for some odd reason they were here for weeks mooching food off me. It was about 2 weeks. They've stopped coming, stopped asking for food. So they were just up in the trees just saying g'day and tweet, 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 tweet. And Kermie and Bo got really excited. They're looking for them. They think they're there. They think they are their friends. And they're like, yes, the lorikeets are here, boys. The lorikeets are here. And but I brought them in because the weather's blowing up again, not looking all that friendly. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just, it gets really hot and humid and sticky. You can almost not breathe, and then down comes the rain. Anyway, I thought I would read to you. We're 14 minutes in and I've rambled enough. People of Earth. I thought I would read to you chapter 26. In the burned city of Camulodunum, nothing was left living but the rats and the crows and the warriors who waited in silent layered rings about the temple to Claudius, once emperor, protector of his people. and the 500 who waited equally silently inside, praying for the protection of a God in whom they had never truly believed. Well, how's that going to work out for them? I'll tell you how that's going to work. Not very bloody well at all. If you don't have faith in your God, you can't really expect him to pull through for you, can you? Or if he does, you don't even realise it's happening because you don't have faith. Ye of little faith, as they say. Oh, there's a movement out there in the force, so I think the storm's going to swing back. And I think, excuse me, this time it will be a bit of a storm too. Although the skies are so beautiful and blue in the north, you wouldn't know in the southwest how murky it looks out that way. Oh, that was nice, I needed that. Let me just check my boys for one moment. You being good boys? Always good boys, Mama too. Right. Briaca wiped her palm on the front of her tunic, and then the hilt of her sword in the sleeve at the crook of her elbow. 1,000 warriors stood to either side with her behind the small stone wall to the temple's courtyard, and none of them was any easier with the waiting. Along the length of their line, in the depths of their ranks, was a silence greater and more tense than the one that had awaited the men of the 9th Legion as they marched down the ancestors' way to oblivion. I'm being called to go to Myala Forest at Mount Glorious, which is an hour and a half drive from here. It's quite a long trip for me to go to. I have a feeling, because I'm sensing it, my daughter's there. She loves going there, and because she lives on the north side somewhere, I have no idea where, but it's not so far for her to travel to go to Myala, and it's one of our favourite forests to go to. The fairy are very active there, very active. There's both dark and light fairy. There's a part of the forest that as soon as you step into it, you know you've entered the dark fairy territory, because it just goes silent, and things get thrown at you, and if you don't sort of show respect enough, it can be a bit, at night it's quite frightening, but during the day not so much, but it can be a bit confronting, like you know that you've entered territory where you're not particularly welcome as a mortal. Anyway, it's a beautiful place, and from I think August to or September to November, you see fireflies flying, that is the most beautiful part of all. If you go there just on sunset, the fireflies come out and they fly all around you and past you, and it's the most magical experience. I tell all my, it's not magical, it's science, people, just actual little insects, but it feels so magical with the little lights. So I tell all my friends that have, younger kids or even early teenagers to bring their kids there late in the evening and have a bit of a picnic, and then go and watch the the fireflies. It's just a gorgeous forest. And my daughter's very passionate about fungi, so she likes looking at all the wonderful fungi. One time we went there and she showed me a little mushroom that just looked like a very pale white, almost translucent. And she said, "It's cute, isn't it, Mum?" I went, "Yeah." And she says, "Watch what happens when I put it into darkness and cup my hands over it." It went iridescent, not iridescent actually, yeah, kind of a fluorescent colour. I said, "Oh, isn't that incredible?" She says, "Yeah, you don't really expect that. It just looks like a plain, boring old fungus, but it's colourful when you put it in the dark." A bit like Mama G. Psychedelic dreamers. We're colourful in the dark too. Glow in the dark, babies. Oh, that's just the radiation from all the 5G and toxicity I'm absorbing through my skin from being on YouTube constantly, day by day, reading stories, and when I'm not reading stories, watching other videos as well. I must fucking glow in the dark by now. Oh well, my teeth have stopped falling out and my skin stopped. No, that's a lie. I've got all these little blisters forming. Sometimes I don't think it's skin cancers, I think it's radiation. Sometimes they heal on their own too, just kind of slough the fuck off. It's a bit of a worry actually. Mama T needs to touch grass and go to my Isle of Forest and just put the phone aside and be in nature. I could do it here. I've got a forest behind me, but we've got those great big television and internet antennas leaching out constant fucking radiation too, and I live right next door to them. It's not a wonder I feel constantly fatigued and worn out and yeah, battling all of that, people of Earth. Anyway, back to the story. Along the length of their line and the depths of their ranks was a silence greater and more tense than the one that had awaited the men of the 9th Legion as they marched down the ancestors' way to oblivion. She passed Valerius the waterskin, and he drank, and the small scrape as he set the leather flask back on the stone wall ahead of them was the loudest sound along the length of the wall. I'm also being called to go back to Purling Falls Forest at Springbrook. The Fae are there too. I've actually seen, they showed up in our photographs, people of Earth. Some look like pareidolia, but some look like actual little fairies peering down at us. So yeah, I'm feeling like I'm being called to go to the forest and commune with the forest fairy. When I say commune, I don't really do much. I just show up and stomp around and tell them that I'm here and, you know, make offerings occasionally or say little blessings. But yes, interesting that I'm being called today. Very much feel it draw. Come to us. Come to us. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to tell you. I wrote about it on Facebook. Last week I was, making these little, I had made, and I was smashing them into shape, these little sterling silver ingots with Pegasus on it. Anyway, I lost one, and it was very frustrating because I'd made matching sets of one facing left and one facing right to use as earrings, and I lost one. Well, that can't be used as a pair of earrings now, I'm missing one. And I was really distressed. I was crawling around on the grass, looking in my pot plants near where I had my stump, searching high and low. I thought, well, I can't find it, what can I do? And I was having a bit of a panic attack because, when I'm working on my silversmithing, I get very emotionally anxious and het up because I'm in a flow state and I'm wanting it to be perfect and putting a lot of pressure on myself, which I don't do when I'm reading stories, obviously, but somehow silversmithing makes me very, anxious and kind of het up. And so I'm crawling around the grass looking for this little ingot. Couldn't find it. But well, fuck it, can't find it. I'll just have to smash out another one. I had another, piece of silver, bored up silver to do it with, so very intrepidly, but kind of really pissed off that it went missing, I got back into it and made another one. So, problem solved, right? And anyway, for the next few days, every time I went outside, I kept looking for this little ingot, couldn't find it. Thought, well, it can't just vanish into thin air, can it? Well, at Titania's realm, anything can happen, people of Earth. A few days ago, I lost my bristle discs that I use for polishing, the 600 grit one. Only went under the little table was sitting at, can't find it for love or money either. It's odd. I blame it on the fairies when that happens. But anyway, I thought, that's odd. But what did I do? Just ordered some more on eBay because they're not all that expensive. It's just the nuisance of having to buy more when I know I had a perfectly good one that's gone missing. So anyway, last night I decided there'd been a little bit too much negativity and spiritual manifestations, and I've been in a very dark headspace, bringing up all my old trauma stories and feeling really distressed and triggered and emanating all that darkness. I thought this needs to actually stop. I can't always control it, people of Earth, though, so it depends where I'm at in my mood states, which can be flubbery. So I thought, right, we'll have to put a stop to that. It's kind of like a form of psychic attack that I'm somatizing and expressing as darkness and trauma activation, fucking fury and anger and grief, and it's got to stop. There's no point wasting all that energy on fucking idiots anyway, including the spirit realm that used to mess me around when they were alive too, jumping in my YouTube channel, speaking Latin to me and being very, very clever actually, and witty and articulate, but a bit inappropriate, if you don't mind me saying. But right, there's only one way to calm that all the fuck down. I'll show you. So last night I sat and I read all the Psalms for protection, because I'm a real Jew, even though not a very particularly observant one anymore, and I'm also a real witch. So don't fuck with the Tanya. Spirits, I hope you're paying attention here. So here's the really weird thing, right? I sat last evening, and just in this actual spot, reading Psalms. And I thought, well, whether it makes a difference or not, whether I feel better or not, sometimes it's just a kind of a psychological blessing or uplifting. I thought I'll just do that and I'll see how I feel tomorrow. Well, as you can see, I'm very tired today, but I actually feel spiritually a little bit more uplifted. So anyway, so the first thing that happened this morning when I went outside, apart from feeding BB his seeds on orders from BB, was I went to put all my scraps of, when I cut up vegetables and peel potatoes and that, put it in my worm farm. So I went to walk over, to behind my laundry to go to the worm farm to drop everything in there. and I saw something shiny in the grass, just a slight glint. Oh, am I imagining it? Because like I searched everywhere for that bloody silver ingot, like seriously everywhere, to the point I nearly ripped out all my ferns that were in my pots because I thought it had fallen in there. I didn't, but I do need to rip them out anyway because I want to plant strawberries in them. Anyway, see the shiny thing, and I thought, if I'm not going completely crazy and losing my mind, that looks like my Pegasus ingot I lost a week ago. So I bent down, put my fingers into the grass, picked it up, and sure enough it was. So here's the weird thing. It was only 4 meters away from when it went flying, when I was smashing it into shape, and I had nearly finished with it when it went flying actually, which was another reason why I was so annoyed. I'd put all that work into shaping it and it just went ping and I lost it. So it got returned to me. Now either it was there the whole time, which I doubt because I searched everywhere, or it had flipped up onto the roof and a bird had knocked it down. That's more likely. Or after doing my protection prayers, the mischievous little pixie or elf or gnome decided, shit, she means business, I think I better give her a silver back. Which wasn't why I did the protection prayers. I'd already given up on the silver coming back. I made peace with the fact that it had disappeared into some portal and would never be seen again. But it came back and I was like, now isn't that really interesting timing? Could be a coincidence, but I don't think so somehow. Now, I still haven't found that bristle disc with its little stainless steel little mandrel though, but that might turn up. Might turn up soon, I think. So there you go. Strange little things happen when you yes, keep your faith in the Holy One and all manifestations of holiness. Even the little pranksters around the garden start giving you back your stuff. So I'm happy about that too. I've got it now, because I finished polishing all those other little ingots, not last night, the night before. So now that's another one I've got to, finish shape, filing and sanding back and shaping. I might turn that one into a ring because it's a spare now, because the other ones all have a matching Pegasus for earrings. I've made 6, so that's 3 pairs of earrings. And now this little spare one, yes, I think I will. I'll make it into a ring. It'll look quite pretty, and then, I can have the earrings and the matching little ring. So, and I already have a beautiful Pegasus pendant that my mother bought for me, a long time ago, 1990, 1991. I'd not long been living here when she bought it for me. I still remember it was an arcade in Adelaide Street, and it was a shop called the Silversmith. Was it Adelaide Street? Anyway, it was in an arcade, and it was a shop called the Silversmith, and she would take me. She was trying to subliminally convince me to do silversmithing even back then, you understand. She was planting seeds. Very manipulative, my mother was, but very clever. And I arced up against it all those years because I don't like being coerced or manipulated by narcissists and psychopaths. And I knew what she was doing. And in those days, 1990, I had my own business with my husband. We just bought, with very little children. My children were still very, very small. Crystal was you know, 5, and Jasmine was 3, you know, 3.5. Sorry, if Crystal was 5, she was, let's say, 10 months off 5. Yeah, 3.5. So they were still pretty much babies, you know. My mother was pressuring me. I want you to do this for me. No, I don't have time, Mum. I'm running a business and a home and small children. She was so fucking narcissistic and selfish. She saw that as a rejection of her and a reason to be vicious for the rest of my goddamn natural life. But honestly. But anyway, having said that, she could be very generous, and she bought me this beautiful Pegasus pendant, which I remember when she bought it for me, she just said to me, do you like that? And I was just looking at it and admiring it, you know. I said, yes, it's a symbol of freedom, and it's very, very meaningful to me because freedom is everything to me, Mum. And she nodded. She actually knew that. I'm going to buy it for you. And she did, you know. I think back in those days, it cost $120, which doesn't seem all that much now, but in those days it was quite an expensive pendant. Now it's probably worth 3-4 times that price. Was it 120 or 220? I remember saying to her, because I'm not a greedy person actually, believe it or not, contrary to what my mother said about me, because she was savage with dementia, but I'm not a greedy person. I just thought to her, I said, are you sure you want to spend that? It's a lot of money, Mum. It's beautiful, but I already have a lot of jewellery. No, I want you to have it. I want you to have it. And she bought it for me, which was lovely of her. But she wasn't always a fucking monster. She had her good sides too. Anyway, that was a long segue, and but how I went into that was I'll have the matching little earrings and a little ring, and then I can wear it with my Pegasus pendant. I'll have the whole kit and caboodle. Babies. I don't really need it though. Don't need more earrings or rings but I just if I'm going to make it, I'll have the matching set. Makes sense, doesn't it? So one day I might even, because I'll make 3 pairs. I'll keep a pair for myself as a sample of what I've been making. And then there'll be another 2 pairs that I can either give as gifts or potentially sell one day if I ever go back to the markets. Ugh, that gives me the heebie-jeebies. Anyway, on we go with the story. So she's passed Valerius the water skin. They stood a while watching the dawn. A cloud lay over the sun and would not move, so that in a clearly blue sky there was no rising brightness. Watching it, Valerius asked, "Did you find what you needed with Theophilus last night?" "Perhaps the beginnings of it," Briaca said. She was sick with lack of sleep, and the smell of burning flesh turned her stomach. He looked at her as Theophilus had, as Ermid had after, when she returned. As they had each done, he said, "You don't have to be here. We can take the temple without you. And after that it might be that Kunamar is ready to lead the war host." That too had been said in the morning, although with less conviction. The line of battle was not the time nor the place to argue. At length Briaca said only, "That's not necessary yet." They fell to silence and watched the sky. Presently, the sun moved up above the trees, still locked behind its following cloud. When it was so high that the shadows should have reached halfway across the empty courtyard, Valerius said, "If they don't come out soon, we'll have to," and stopped, because the first part of the waiting, at least, was over. Something brazen rang to the dawn, as of a shield struck to greet the gods. A grating came, of metal on stone, and the bronze door to the temple edged open slowly, as if it weighed a great deal, and those behind were afraid to open it quickly. For a breath's pause, the silence returned. Then a child wept reedily. There was more waiting, and then 4 girl children in stained tunics with dirty blonde hair emerged on unsteady feet, blinking in the dull cloud light. They stood on the white stone steps, half naked and filthy, clutching rags and wooden toys in their arms for comfort, staring out at the ring of warriors around them. They were crying silently, uninhibitedly, with running noses and red, wide eyes. To put my bins out before those rains come. Never mind. 4 girls, none of them older than Grain, only 4, no more. The bronze door closed, shuddering. Sigva said, "There must be more." "There aren't," said Valerius. Briaca said, "They need help." Ermid had already stepped across the low wall towards the temple. She walked out alone, straight-backed under the late moon and the mist and the clouded sun. The limed stone of the temple made all the light white, so that it glanced off her hair, and she was silver, marked for Nemain. She walked up the long courtyard, past the roughly hewn block of the altar stone, yet to be consecrated, to the foot of the steps. Seeing her, the girls shrieked and turned back to the doors and would have run, perhaps to the unsafety of the interior. Excuse me. But she stopped and crouched and tipped her head to one side and said something too low to be heard where the warriors waited. Only the murmur of it carried to them, and the sudden softening of the children, so that they walked to her and were held. Lanus joined her, who was a dreamer of the Trinovantes and known to them. They lifted one each and led the others. 4 girls, when an amnesty and safe passage without harm had been offered to all the women and children inside. Only 4. The clouded sun, synchronicity, the clouded sun moved up, and the contours of the temple walls began to acquire a semblance of shadow and texture. Along the stone parapet that surrounded the compound, the tension eased. Men and women rested their shields and drank water and ate smoked meat and handfuls of soaked barley and spoke to each other so that the rock and rhythms of speech filled the silence. The warriors were not waiting now for anything except some sign to show how one moment differed from the one before it, and the final attack could begin. Briarka backed away from her stance and went to see Earmid and the children in the safe place they had found in the broken arc of the theatre, close to the place where Enniet had died. It was hard to see it and not to remember that. Briarka walked round the edge to avoid stepping on the sand in the middle that had been the flight path of her spear. I've got a t-shirt on so you can't see my bra, but I've tucked it so far down it shows off the bra anyway. Let's just fix that, people of Earth, because what's the point of having a camisole on if it's not camouflaging anything? By all the gods. That's better, isn't it? Almost. Hadn't even noticed that till now. Well, at least I'm wearing a bra today. Sometimes I don't bother. Especially when it's hot like this. It's awful. The girls were at the edge on the first row of seats. Theophilus sat with them, whom they knew well. He had one on his knee and two crushed against his hips, and was wiping their hands and legs with sheep's wool dipped in water and rosemary oil. They had been locked in airless, sunless stone for 2 days and nights, sharing food with 500 and water and latrines that were the corners, with nothing to keep themselves clean. 3 of them welcomed his touch, and relief patterned their faces. The 4th sat apart, clutching the wooden hound she had been sent out with, and stared ahead and would not speak. Her hair was rust red when the others were dirty straw. Her eyes were more green than their blue-grey, and her nose was more strongly aquiline than theirs. Of the 4, she smelled most strongly of feces and stale men's urine. Earmid had been gone and returned. I found this for them to eat. It's not much, but better than they have had. It was better than any of them had had of the besieging army or the besieged. She opened a willow basket, and inside was malted barley and warmed oat cakes, a little crumbly for too little milk, and honey. In a burned city inhabited by a war host that carried barely as much as it needed, Earmid had found honey Even Theophilus had not had that. For all the fear and tension and loathing of what the day held, Briaca had to swallow and resist an overwhelming temptation to reach for the basket. The 3 girls who leaned on Theophilus's knees had no such inhibitions. 2 days on corn uncooked alone had left them open to the bribery of honey and malted barley. They grabbed what they were offered and crammed more than they could swallow in their mouths. The 4th girl, the one with the darker, rusty hair, who hugged her hound and stared at nothing, looked past the food as if she could see neither it nor the woman who offered it. Her eyes were the colour of the straits that kept Mona safe, but red and thick from weeping. To Briaca in Iceni, Hermod said, "Where's Stone?" He was with Valerius, to whom he'd given some of his heart when Granny left. Briaca whistled, and the old hound trotted to her and smelled the oatcake she held out to him from a distance away, so that his stride lifted and his ears flagged high. She broke it in half and gave him half of one, and sat on the dusty earth and teased him until he lay down and rolled over, and she could scratch his belly away from the pink flesh and skin of the healing wound at his ribs. The rust-haired girl watched sideways, without turning her head. Briaca studied her the same way, weighing the signs of care. Her tunic, which had torn and then been mended awkwardly in poor light. Her hair, which had been cut recently, so the ends were still level, against the signs of uncare that were more manifest. She was thinner than only 2 days' reduced rations might have created, and her hair was matted at the back, with straw and dung in parts of it. Her feet were filthy up to the ankles, as if she had stood in a pigsty, which was not entirely impossible. Closer, with the wind from behind her, she stank of pig as much as of men. Stone rolled onto his side and grunted as his wound stretched. Briaca ran her fingers round the edge of it, feeling for heat. To the girl, not looking directly, she said, "His name is Stone. His sire was Hale, who died to protect Granny and her father, Caradoc. The Roman procurator tried to kill him. It has taken all of Hermod's skill to keep him alive." "Are there hounds inside the temple? If they can be sent out, you could care for them. We would not have them harmed." There was no answer. The girl turned to look the other way. Briaca stopped speaking and sat up. Stone flagged his tail on the earth, raising dust and old settled ash. She rubbed him with her toe, and he mouthed at her leg, and she forgot the girl for a while until a thin voice, surprisingly deep, said, "They killed the hounds to eat them, and so they wouldn't eat the food." There was nothing to be said, nothing to be done. Briaka took her foot from stone. He got up, puzzled, and went to nose the child, who pushed him away. Briaka called him and led him back to the warriors, leaving the children with Ermid and Theophilus, who did not make war and did not cause hounds to be killed for food in a temple to a man who had been made into a god. In a sky of clear blue, the one cloud still covered the sun. The warriors still waited outside the parapet. The day was dust and death, and nothing could be done to change it. The cloud drifted sideways by slow degrees, freeing the sun. On the bronze door of the temple, a band of light grew at the hinge and widened. A knife blade of brilliance became a finger's breadth, became a hand span, became an arm's length of undiluted fire. The tiles above glowed softly gold, then dazzled more brightly than the bronze beneath. For those watching, the temple was consumed by the gods' fire, sent not by Claudius, but by the gods of the tribes, who had been petitioned since dawn, since the days of their first lost battle, and all that had come since. A murmur ran round and rose to a shout, and then stilled again. In awe and the shock of faith tested and found to have sure foundations. They had asked for a sign. The combined warriors of the Iceni, of Mona, of the Trinovantes, of the Corytani, and the Votadini, and the Brigantes, through the vehicle of Valerius, who spoke to both moon and sun. They had asked that something tangible be given, and the evidence lay before them in the streaming, dazzling brilliance of the gods' furnace that opened before them. Valerius stood very still, not wishing his eyes to tire of it. He had asked for help as the sun rose, going out beyond the eastern margins of the city to a place where he could see both the arc of the new day and the old moon that pushed above the horizon ahead of it, and so could open equally to the two gods he served. One, the source of all life, the other, life's reflected glory, shining through the darkness, mirroring each other by day and by night. in grey silver light with a thin spatter of frost crisp on the ground, with the air clear as river water and free from the taint of burning. He had felt the doorway open in the caved silence of his mind, and had stepped forward to the threshold when a question framed on his lips. Mine is starting to peel from that almighty burn I gave myself by the gods. Literally, that was supernatural in a way. That was not normal. Anyway, I'm okay. I put a bit of lipstick on to hide it, but it's all inside and not pretty, people of Earth. Hurts to pout. Hurts to say that letter F. Won't be kissing anyone today either. I did kiss my birdies though. I always kiss my birdies. Did you enjoy your kisses today, birdie boys? I kiss them when I take them out to their cage and when I bring them back in. Because they're quite frightened when they're carried in and out. So they get lots of kisses. Yes. Bo says, we don't actually like it, Mama T. But you do it anyway, because you're a stubborn old wench. Need some more water. Need some more water. Looks like the weather's starting to improve, birdie boys. Could put you back out. There's a fair bit of cumulus over in the southwest, so maybe not. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. There's lots of blue sky and sunshine though in between. Well, they had a lovely day out. They were out all day yesterday, so they actually aren't suffering too badly. Right, I've lost where we were up to, people of Earth. I know, I do that, don't I? By all the gods. He had not expected anything more than the release of asking. Then the dawn had come and the sky had grown to an aching, transparent blue, clear from one horizon to the other except for the one cloud that sat doggedly over the sun, so that half the morning had passed in its shade, and the warriors had become progressively more restless, even after the children had been sent out. Can't believe they had 500 there besieged, but only 4 children. It's a bit odd, isn't it? Valerius had been about to talk to Briaca to organise a withdrawal. They were together when the cover of the cloud was taken away by Mithras's hand, or Nemain's, or Briga's, or all of these acting together to send the gods fire in the sky to meet the man-hardened fire of the earth and make the meeting of them radiant, so that the watchers basked in liquid sunlight and were blinded and God-touched and grateful. It was necessary to move, to begin, to set the day in motion, and all that might follow. Valerius did not sink to his knees in a weakness of relief, although the moment was there to do it. He flexed his fingers and forced some movement from them and said, "Hugh?" and heard Mona's best slinger move up to his side, and the chuck of a stone falling into leather, and the whispered whine of the flick as it was sent on its course. The stone sent was a flint the size of a hen's egg that they had found together in the dusk dew of the previous evening. One side of it was broken open to show the black at the heart within the white skin. Riga, wrapped within the mane, it had seemed a good choice to begin the ending. The hammer of it against the bronze door was of a giant's war shield struck by a god. It rang to the slope 10 spear throws behind, and echoed back on itself like ripples on water. For 2 more heartbeats after, the quiet remained. Then, under the blaze of the god's light, with all the noise and effort they could muster, Valerius and his warriors hurled themselves at the bronze door. I think I'm hearing thunder. It's not very loud, but it's banging in the distance. The noise was astonishing, greater even than the usual deafening clamour of war. It lacked the screams of wounded or dying, or the usual dullness of iron on flesh. But in their place was a constant rain of iron on bronze, and wood on bronze, and stone on bronze, as swords and spear hafts and sling stones crashed endlessly into the solid metal of the doors. They made no dents, nor moved them on their hinges. They did not expect to. Some time later, when he thought he had gone deaf, Valerius heard a whistle high above the clamour. He stepped back, slapping sweat from his face. His throat hurt, and his chest. His eyes were stinging as if he had been in real battle. His right arm ached. "Here!" He looked up. Sigfa was 60 feet above him on the temple's roof. Caught in the full sun, her hair was a blazing nimbus, her features fine as carved marble. She looked like the young Alexander on a fresco in a Gaulish villa. Valerius felt his past intrude unwanted on his present and shook his head to clear it. Sigfa shouted to be heard above the noise. "It's done. Send up the fire baskets." She mimed a throw and saw that he was ready, and spun a weight down to him that, when caught, proved to be a gilded lead roof tile, cheap and easily folded. He felt someone at his side. Briaka was there from nowhere. She had not taken part in the attack on the door. He gave her the tile, and she folded it in half, and then quarters, as the old men in Rome folded their curse tablets. Her face was unreadable. He was not used to that. Behind her, the fire baskets were passing from warrior to warrior, smouldering, not yet fully alight, belching fine, dusty smoke and the smell of oak bark and pitch. Valerius looked out into the heart of the throng, still assaulting the door. Hugh! The lad was not so far away, and he had seen Sigva. He grinned, and his sling flashed one more time. Valerius signalled him and shouted to back it up. Pull back! The warriors did not have Roman discipline, and the noise carried its own power, so that it was hard to stop and risk again the threatened silence of before. Still, they slowed in time, as more were needed to relay the fire baskets, and others walked backwards to stand on the parapets to watch Sigva and the dozen of her honour guard gather basket after basket on the roof of the temple, sending smoke to stain the clear blue sky. Those inside the temple discovered what had befallen later than those in the assaulting horde. The noise at the doors had been unpleasant outside. In the echoing stone chamber of the temple, it had been truly deafening, so that the sound of the roof tiles being levered up and away was lost. Excuse me. Was lost in the clamour of it. Wet hides had covered the growing gap that was made, letting in no light to betray early what was being done. 8 warriors stood on the sloping roof, each holding a basket from the pile at their side. 4 others held the edges of the wet hides. Sigva held aloft a pitch pine torch that outblazed the sun. Valerius gave the order because the mix in the baskets had been his idea, and it was good that he be seen to be part of the final battle. He shouted up and raised his hand, and Sigva grinned and tipped her fire torch in a warrior's salute, and then said something that could not be heard from the ground. The 4 warriors holding the goat skins pulled them aside. The Sigva spun in a slow circle, and 8 fire baskets took light, belching flames and dark, tarry smoke. The sound of a man's panicked shout, and then a cacophony of others, came up through the gap in the roof tiles, as the first of the torches was hurled in. Right, I think I'll be back tomorrow, people of Earth. I'm a bit tired today. Been very, very tired lately. I probably need some more, another B12 injection, but I don't have a GP to go to get that done, and can't be asked. So I'll just be tired until I die, people of Earth, whichever comes first. And I know I'm very recalcitrant now when it comes to dealing with medical issues. I just can't be bothered. The only doctor I still have regular contact with is my psychiatrist, because he's the only one that's actually ever cared about me or bothered to even try to keep me alive or save my life. So out of a mark of respect to him, I stay in therapy, even though sometimes I wonder why I'm still in therapy, since not much really changes, through no fault of his own. It's my own inability to heal that I acknowledge and take responsibility for. It's a bit hard to heal though when you're a complex PTSD trauma survivor of a prejudicial childhood, when evil shits keep happening, evil events keep happening, like, 5 years ago the COVID regime, and recently the terrorist attack in Bondi. It's how do you actually heal when you're constantly cognizant that you live under constant pernicious threat, and when it's actually not even safe to even go dancing anymore because people are nasty, even throwing in my face about why I haven't healed in 30 years. Fuck off, you dog. You lived through what I lived through. Let's see how well you healed, motherfucker. But anyway, that was just one tiny little fucking attack in the last few months of microaggressions and savagery, and I've just decided, why am I pouring energy into people that are hateful and ugly anyway? Not a fucking victim. I'm a warrior goddess. I reserve my energies for people who vibe with me, are courageous, decent and honouring, and the rest will just leave my life ultimately, or I'll leave their lives, and I'll just move on and find my own tribe one day, if that's even humanly possible at this stage of events in life, and with everything that's been going down, everything that I know about humanity. I don't think I'll ever fit into anyone else's feckin' tribe, because they just turn vicious. On average, it takes about 2 years. Sometimes a bit longer, sometimes less, but I've seen that pattern over and over again. They're so welcoming and lovely when they think they can use you, and when you won't lie on their beds and sweat and grunt to their satisfaction. They shuck you off like you're a dirty, used up old whore, when you're nothing of the kind. You're a queen of your own destiny and uprising, people of Earth. Alone in my garden, which is perfectly fine by me. So, on that note, this would be, have a wonderful afternoon, evening, night on this very unstable weather-wise Tuesday. There's lots of grey clouds out there again. I was considering putting my birdie boys out, but there's no point if I put them out and it starts storming and raining. So I think you'll be in for the day, my boys. Hasta mañana. Another day tomorrow, my boys. Another day in paradise. They really are very good birds, though. They really are. So on that note, I'll be back tomorrow with chapter... What chapter are we up to tomorrow? Chapter 17. I have my debrief tomorrow, and I have to clean the fish pond tomorrow. Although I could do it a day early and do it now, but storm's coming. It can happen tomorrow. But yes, I'm glad I cleaned the cages today. I like normally to do them on a Monday, but the last couple of weeks it's happened on Tuesdays. And so Tuesday seems to be the day, boys. They're like, thank you, Mama T. We've chucked all our food on the floor of the cage and all our fruit and vegetables, and we've trashed the entire cage for you that you just cleaned, but we're very grateful, Mama. Okay, boys. Whatever rings your bell, you can ring my bell. Ring my bell. Ring-a, 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 ring-a. Cammie's like, I was happy in the garden, Mama. Well, I thought the frickin' weather was on the turn. It keeps changing its mind, but there is going to be more rain, I'm sure of it. Anyway, bye for now. Take good care. Be of good cheer. Remember, as always, to never ever let the bastards grind you down.